All right, here we go. We're going to be doing a little bit on integers and absolute value. So let me cut the music here and let's get into it. Okay, first off, let me show you how you're going to get the most out of this. So this is the page from your interactive notebook. You can see this is on the left-hand side of the page. Let's see, I believe this should be page 16 in your notebook. We're already there. Got my name up at the top. I've titled it Integers and Absolute Value up at the top. And then up here, you can barely see my I can statement, but I've got it up there. I can find the absolute value of integers. This piece of paper right here, I'll be giving to you in class. Got a number line that I'll give to you. And then you're going to need to do this writing right here. And these little strips of paper aren't there. They're just there for me to cover up my answers, so you can't see those right away. So once you get your page looking like this, that's when you do the rest of the video. Okay, so get your page looking like this. Pause the video. Pause the video. Get your page looking like this. Then do the rest of the video. But we're going to say that you've done that, so here we go. All right, so if I'm looking at absolute value, what absolute value is how far a number is from 0. That's all it is. So if I am looking at, let's say I'm looking at the absolute value of -5, I am just looking and I am seeing, okay, -5 is there. How far is it from -5 to 0? Well, that's just 5 units. So the absolute value of -5 is 5 because it's only 5 away from 0. The absolute value of 2, well, since 2 is only 2 away from 0, its absolute value is 2. So that's it. That's absolute value, just how far that number is from 0. Okay, if it's negative inside that absolute value sign, that has no difference. Okay, the absolute value is always going to be positive if the negative sign is inside the absolute value sign. Now, if it's outside, that's a little bit different. We'll worry about that later. Okay, so moving on. This is a section that you have copied in your notebook. If you haven't copied this in your notebook, pause the video, copy it in your notebook, because I'm going to work these out right now. What I want you to do is I want you to work them in your notebook and then check and see if you've got the right answer. So here we go. I'm going to work them. Well, the absolute value of 24 is 24 because it's 24 away from 0. The absolute value of -6 is 6 because it's 6 away from 0. On this one right here, -3 times 2 is a -6, but the absolute value of -6 is still 6. We know that from earlier. 7 minus 12. Well, if I work this in here, I would get a -5 because 7 minus 12 is -5, but the absolute value of that is going to be 5 because it's only 5 from 0. If I work this one out, I'm going to get a -2 because a -4 plus 2 is a -2. But that still means it's only 2 from 0, so its absolute value is 2. And for our final one, -8 plus 7, well, that would be a -7. Or -8 plus 1, I'm sorry, is be a -7. Its absolute value is going to be 7. So there we go. That is absolute value. Hopefully you were able to get all those correct. Now we're going to move in something slightly different. We're not going to be using absolute value, but we are going to be comparing integers, greatest to least. So I'm right here, I'm doing a least to greatest comparison. And it helps for me to think about these being on a number line. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that that's 0. And I kind of plot them and figure out where they would be. So right here, I've got 10. Well, I'm going to say 10 is about right out in here. It's one of the bigger numbers that I could put on my number line. -6. Well, -6, it's going to be right there. 1, well, that's going to be approximately in there somewhere. -3. So a -3 is going to be, I'm going to say, about right in here. And then I've got a 4. Well, a 4 is definitely bigger than 1. I'm going to say that's about 4. And 0, well, I've already got 0 on there. Okay, so now if I'm plotting these out, if I'm doing these least to greatest, as you can probably tell from this, the smallest one on here is -6. It is absolutely the smallest. Okay, we're not looking at distance from 0 anymore. We're not looking at absolute value. -6. So if I'm using US dollars and I have -6, that means I owe you $6. Okay, you know, the only way to get lower than that is get a bigger negative number. So -3 would come next. If I'm doing these least to greatest, then it would be 0, and then 1, and then 4, and then 10. So it helps to think about these being on a number line. Okay, if you actually put them on a number line, it makes problems like this incredibly simple. Okay, moving on. So I've got another problem. This is another one that's in your notebook here. Okay, you may want to see if you can work it first before I work it on here. I'll give you time to do that. Pause the video. All right, so here it is. Here's how I'm working it. I'm getting my number line out there. I'm going to put the 0 up here this time because I see no 0 in all these numbers. And I'm just going to graph it out. So here we go, 14. Well, I'm going to put 14 way at the end. I see it's the biggest number on there. -5. Well, I'm going to say -5. It's in there somewhere. 2. Well, I'm just going to put 2 in here somewhere. It's not exact, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be exact. 8. Well, 8 is going to be pretty close over here to 14. So there's going to be 8. -1. Well, it's going to be just this side of 0 over here. So here's -1. -4. Well, it's going to be really close to -5. Okay, now then, very, 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 very simple. Greatest to least. Which one is the largest? Well, I can see that it is 14. Next largest would be 8, and then 2, then -1. -4 gets even smaller, and the smallest is -5. Because with -5, you have 5 less than 0. Yes, it is possible to go lower than 0. You should know this on the temperature scale. Okay, so that is how we're going to do absolute value. That's how we're going to compare integers using a number line. Hope you got this. And I guess I would say happy mathing.